2013 LeBron James is the greatest version of LeBron, in my opinion, and was damn near the closest thing we got to the perfect all-around basketball player. He was MVP this year, Finals MVP, NBA champion, and I think this season would have capped off the greatest NBA season from a superstar that we have seen in quite a while at that time if he won Defensive Player of the Year, in which he was second in voting in. LeBron in the 2012-2013 NBA season averaged 26.8 points, 8 rebounds, 7.3 assists on 64% true shooting, the second highest efficiency he has had in his career, matching that with his 2013-2014 season. There wasn't a significant weakness in his game at this point of his career. LeBron, through his younger career, was an elite basketball player. That athleticism, IQ, and explosiveness was just too much for defenses to contain, but he did have some drawbacks which made teams scheme against him and limit him when it came to playoff time. Many would argue 2018 LeBron James was the greatest version of LeBron, and it was an all-time season from him. As the main piece post Kyrie Irving, his offense took off, and it was one of the better carry jobs he had had since his younger years in Cleveland. This version of LeBron was much more seasoned and a big-time clutch player. This was the height of his playmaking capabilities, constantly dissecting and manipulating defenses. The older Cleveland teams LeBron played on was the best teams that was structured around him, prioritizing multiple shooters around him, so the team construction helped a lot in LeBron's play. He would barrel through defenses with ease and was sharper and quicker to make passes when he noticed the defense was helping. It was easier to find teammates with that spacing, and that 2018 Cavs team could have used it well, Kyrie Irving, but it was still the best built team around LeBron to maximize his strengths. But in terms of all-around play from LeBron, I'm talking defense, rebounding, scoring, playmaking, every category of basketball he excelled at. His 2013 version was on another level. Let's first talk about his defense this year. There was a very strong debate that LeBron should have won Defensive Player of the Year award, and this was an elite defensive season from Bron. What really is eye-popping about Bron was his speed at this time, and this came to light when you saw him on rotations. He was much more active, aware, and he completely blindsided teams who think they just have a wide open shot, but notice LeBron is just trucking through right at them to close out and stop a potential shot. His speed was just insane. He took a lot of pride on that end, and he understood the mental game, the reaction, and the team defense, and his role on the defensive side. His rotations was much more urgent and crisp, and he covered a lot of ground on rotations to where he could get to a spot, and you'd be like, damn, he's already there? I can't even get a shot off. He was one of the best help side rim protectors in the league as a wing, and it added a ton of value to a Miami Heat team that lacked a ton of oomph or depth at that center position. His athleticism shined as a rim protector, and his blocks were emphatic. It's always been emphatic throughout his whole career. He's one of the best shot blockers as a wing that we have ever seen. And we all know that Iguodala block, but how many times have you heard of that Thiago Splitter Game 2 block? Splitter was just winding up with force to dunk the basketball, but LeBron rises up to meet Splitter at the apex of the shot. Damn near close for Splitter, dunking this and completely shutting this down. The sheer power it took to block this shot, completely stopping a man that's going full force to the rim with that block. It should be up there in high contention as one of the best blocks LeBron has had. His help side defense was damn near perfect. He reacted well to what the offense was doing and was even able to seep out and blow up some plays with the offense not even suspecting him lurking around. The added muscle allowed him to legitimately defend 1 through 5, switching onto bigs and guards and effectively slowing them down, proving to be in one of the most versatile defensive forwards in the league. To understand the true value of how great LeBron was on the other side of the basketball, the offensive side, we have to first understand his limitations and how those limitations held him back. So let me take you back some years prior to 2013. In 2009, LeBron was an athletic monster. He was going to generate a paint touch no matter what with his explosive burst at that 6'8" height, and no one was stopping him. But his lack of an outside shot, a refined post game, and the pacing in his game were just not up to par just yet. The little things were not present in his game. And in 2011, LeBron suffered his worst defeat in his career in the NBA Finals against the Dallas Mavericks. LeBron's lack of an outside game and post play made it easy for the Mavs to expose his weaknesses, similar to how the Spurs exploited those weaknesses in the 2007 Finals. The Mavericks zoned up on him to force outside shots and lived with smaller players on him, as there would be active gap help to deter his drives. This would eliminate his bully ball drives and rely more on his playmaking to take over in this series. It wasn't until the 2012 season where LeBron's mid-range game was growing, as well as that post game. He was learning in the areas where he fell short and built upon his weaknesses en route to his first championship in 2012. So let's open up more going into 2013, where his game was much more polished and his comfortability with his teammates was at an all-time high, as the team went on to a 27-game win streak throughout the season. That comfortability with his teammates shined in his playmaking, in the pick and roll and throwing skip passes to shooters really shined. Adding a Ray Allen on the team helped maximize more of the shooting, while having a Mario Chalmers, Shane Battier, Mike Miller, Rashard Lewis as outside options as well. And having elite cutters in Dwyane Wade and a dump-off option in Chris Bosh, Chris Anderson, Udonis Haslem helped make his playmaking pop more. His post play was much more polished and comfortable, and he operated out of there much more, staying patient, evaluating where teams will help from, and either creating for himself or diming up shooters. It was tough to load up on LeBron in these post situations. If he was working more on the perimeter, he would have to look at two sides of the court, while on a low post-up play, he is really scanning the whole floor and seeing everything much more clearly. The skip passing from him at this time was special, and it added more of an element of manipulation, as teams thought a pass was going one way, but then seeing that he's beaming it to the other side of the court to dime up a shooter. You really couldn't double team LeBron because you had movement within the offense, and Braun could just see over the defense and make that pass. This version of LeBron was at his peak athleticism and continued to build on that strength and dexterity, meaning he absorbed contact and finished through traffic at a higher level than previous years. He shot 76% at the rim, automatic, which was a career high percentage at this point of his career. He did that while attacking the rim at a 43% frequency. So all of his shots were generated at the rim. Majority of his shots were generated at the rim, showcasing that elite finishing ability that he had. And the man was a freight train going to the rim and could deliver some powerful dunks. He had counters with spins, hop steps, and his contorted double clutch finishes he had when attacking the rim. I think this year was one of the best in him, just finishing through contact, and at times it didn't matter if defenders wrapped him up, challenged him vertically. His balance and stability through contact at this point was elite. And he showcased that he was truly a one-man army in transition situations where he can just grab a rebound, push the pace, and he was dipping more into his pacing at this point of his career, the ability to stop and go, decelerate, and keep defenders on their heels. And sometimes the deceleration wasn't needed, as his raw speed at that size was just too much to contain for defenders. It came to the point where they just had to foul him in transition and just hope he missed free throws. He was like a full-on running back, trucking through the defense, and if he didn't have the ball, he ran the floor hard to capitalize on lob opportunities. The Heat was more than capable of generating stops, as they had a top 10 defense in the league, so these transition attacks were frequent and played a key part in their offensive structure. Dwyane Wade was a guy who would spot LeBron in these transition attacks and cut-in attacks. In 2013, LeBron packed on more muscle and developed more of that post and face-up game that I mentioned before. This was a weakness in previous years. He could just get the ball in the low post and just back you down and bully you to the rim, or lean more into drop steps or hook shots. The face-up game became much more lethal as he would be able to rise into that jump shot or play with some jabs before he rises up. In the mid-range, he shot 45% from there, which is actually the highest percentage he shot from the mid-range in his career. All up until now, that has been the highest percentage he shot in the mid-range. He would also get some post fadeaways and one dribble pull-ups. His touch in the short mid-range area and his touch in general is pretty underrated. It's what made his shooting in the mid-range much more efficient because he can lean more on some hook shots and push shots in the lane. And though he wasn't a high volume 3-point shooter at this point of his career, it was still pretty respectable as he also took a leap here. That comfortability, willingness, and efficient shooting was there, and this was a year LeBron was a legitimate three-way scorer. Now, he wasn't the best off-ball scorer. That 3-point shooting could have helped more, and more attempts would have helped. And there would be lapses where if he had to defer to Wade, where he just wasn't active on a play, he was a more willing off-the-dribble 3-point shooter rather than off-the-catch one. LeBron in 2018 and the older versions of himself where his athleticism started to die down just a bit, just a tad bit, excelled into being a polished off-ball player, being active as a screener, roller, cutter, shooter off the catch, and or someone who can attack closeouts at a much more quicker pace. So the seasoned LeBron was a much more better off-ball player than he was when he was younger. But LeBron was still, in 2013, a really good cutter and at any time a threat for a lob and noticing situations where he had to cut. Elite defender, elite scorer, elite playmaker. This was the year that mid-range was at its peak. It was very consistent with that jumper and his touch around the rim. So teams had such a hard time defending him because it was like you either get bullied to the rim or you let a 45% mid-range shooter do his thing. The second best 3-point shooting season of his career this year percentage-wise, and there wasn't much of any weakness in his game. And then you cap off the season winning a championship in one of the highest stakes NBA finals of your career against the Spurs, being down 3-2, then coming back and winning the series, averaging 25 points, 11 rebounds, 7 assists in the 2013 NBA Finals. And in that Game 7, which is one of the most underrated games of his career, 37-12, winning back-to-back NBA championships. I know people will say 2018 LeBron James was the greatest version of LeBron, and it was a tremendous, monstrous season from him, and this was a mature, high basketball IQ version of Bron, but his defense and athleticism was at its best in 2013, and his shooting was much more efficient from him in 2013, and he grew on that comfortability and willingness. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more NBA breakdowns like these. I break down past players, basketball schemes and plays, team and player breakdowns. So if you love basketball, this is the channel for you. And for all that being said, y'all, I'll see you all in the next video.